Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, along with James Westling. I am Ari Temkin. We are super excited to be talking with a guy that's become a common guest on the show, and we're so thrilled about that. Norm Roberts, longtime KU assistant, former head coach at St. John's, joining us to talk all things college basketball. What's going on, Norm? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Great to be on with you guys.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk hoops with you, and certainly a guy that will forget more hoops than I'll ever know. So it's been a couple of weeks since we've had you on. Just kind of curious, like overall, big picture observations about the Big 12 as we, get this thing rolling. We're just a couple of weeks away from Big 12 play starting.
I would tell you it's going to be a great year again. I think it's probably one of the best conferences, if not the best conference in college basketball. And I think the reason why that is because the bottom of the league is coming up. The bottom of the league, those games are going to be hard games. You got guys like TCU beating Florida. Colorado, I know hasn't really played anybody yet, but you're talking about them being 8-1. UCF looks like they've got a lot of talent that could give people problems, and obviously the top with Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, and Kansas, and those groups, they're always going to be good. So it's going to be a war of a league again.
Norm, you were just telling us, we were talking about Iowa State, and there are so many elite freshmen in this league with DeBonsa and Darren Peterson and Koa Pete and the kids down at Houston, Kingston Flemings and Sanak. But this kid at Iowa State, Torre, who's from France, you recruited him when you were at Kansas. So what did you see in him, and what do you think TJ Otzelberger saw in him that all these recruiting services missed? Because he's like a 3-star recruit, number 130 on Rivals.com.
Well, I think the one thing you saw was he had great tempo and pace to his game. He can play with the ball in his hands, and he can play without it. The other thing is his length and his strength defensively was going to make him a terrific defender. And that's really what he's doing for them. If you think about what he did to Brandon Smith, with Purdue. I mean, has anybody hawked Brandon Smith as hard as what he did in that game, and his length and strength? But you know what he's also showing? He has an offensive game. He can score the ball. He can attack the basket. He can make an open three. He is going to be a really, really good player.
One of the things in watching this season to start is Arizona, and, I love the bully ball style they're playing with, Coach. I mean, this is – it continues to be a program under Tommy Lloyd that, whereas there's a lot of teams that only want to shoot layups and three-point shots and how much this game has become a three-point shooting game, then you look at Tommy Lloyd in Arizona and it's like, not so fast. I mean, they outscored Auburn 60-24 in the paint. Auburn had 68 total points their game last weekend, and Arizona nearly outscored them with points in the paint alone. So I love the style they play with. Everybody can play in the post. I mean, even their point guard is he's got some size. So when he's got guys on him that are undermatched size-wise, he just takes them down low. Like they're kind of a throwback team.
Jaden Brownlee, he was always a power guard. And he was like that in high school. He would post you up in high school and those things. They're going old school basketball. But the other thing that they're doing that's so good is that they play at such a good pace. They can play fast. They can play half court. But the other thing is, if you watch them, they take good shots. They don't take bad shots. So what happens when you play really fast and shoot a lot of threes, that means long rebounds. That means transition for the other team if you're not making them. That's not how they play. So they always have good balance, both offensively and defensively when they play.
Norm, you were talking about the strength of the league, and I think the Big 12 is like 14-2, at least as of a few days ago against the SEC. Last year, the SEC was the best conference in college basketball. This year, it would appear it's the Big 12. What do you see from the Big 12 this year that maybe the league didn't have last year, or just in recent years, how does this league this season stack up?
I think all the coaches did a great job in the portal and constructing their rosters, where that they have kind of complete teams. They have teams that can play different styles. They have teams that have depth inside. They have teams that have guys that can come off the bench and help them. I think they've all done a great job in that way. And as of right now, they're all playing really well and cohesive together. And I think there's been a great emphasis defensively. I think that, the Big 12 has a lot of really good defensive teams. Case in point, Kansas, not having Darren Peterson and winning those games like they did out in Vegas, that was on the defensive end. They have become a very, very good defensive team.
Obviously, as you've observed from the bench as many years as you were with that program, there's been some seasons with some great defensive teams and maybe some that haven't been. What's different? Is it Flory? Is it just having a rim protector shot blocker that makes the difference here, or is it experienced guards? Council can lock you down. Just give us a sense here of why KU's defense has been so good so far this year.
Well, I think one, it starts with Melvin Council. Yeah. Melvin Council can hawk the ball. He's got great size and strength. He's 6'4", 200 some odd pounds, so he can really get after you. So that's the point of attack. And then when you have big guys that can move their feet on ball screen coverages, now it opens up all doors to you, because now you can play in so many different ways. We can trap a ball screen, we can flat hedge a ball screen, we can down a ball screen. We can do so many different things because they can recover after they help. And then when you have shot blocking behind that, that really helps your team. So it really starts with that point guard, and then if you got big guys that can move their feet.
Yeah, can you expand on that? Because I think that leads me into my question was going to be, what makes the Big 12 collectively so good defensively? And I think you touched on it there. There are a lot of really athletic bigs, and then also the league just has so much length. So when you look at some of these teams defensively, is the league ahead collectively of where it's been? And, what's the biggest key to being a really good defensive team in today's game that is ever evolving with so many teams shooting threes and layups and completely eliminating the mid-range game? Like, what's the biggest thing you look at?
Well, I think, as I said before, it's the point guard and the big guy. But then if you have that length, now you have the versatility to switch. And when you can switch and get out on shooters, which Kansas has been able to do, and people have shot really poorly three-point wise against them, that is something that can take a lot of options away from teams. And then if you play against teams that kind of stand, or they're playing to two or three guys, it's much easier to take out those two or three guys. Case in point, Tennessee's a terrific basketball team, but they're going to play through a Ment and they're going to play through Gillespie.
Yeah.
So now your defense has to be structured to take those guys out, wear them out. And that's what's happening to Tennessee right now. They've struggled a little bit because their two top scorers are really tired because they're getting worn out on both ends of the floor.
Great point. Norm Roberts is joining us, who was on staff at Kansas for Final Fours and the national championship most recently in 2022 when Kansas took down North Carolina. I'm curious, just going from your experience of being part of that team, like, when did you know? And then I guess the second part of that is, like, what are some maybe early season indicators of, like, this team can win a national title this year, if there are any?
I think, the one thing I've always said, you have your team in the right place when they speak and act like you do as coaches. So what I'm saying is, when they're out on the floor and the guy doesn't help and recover or something like that, and they're talking to each other that way without you expressing it as a coach, and you see that in practice and that stuff, you start to feel like, okay, our team's on the same page. We're all on the same page. We all know what we need to do to win. We had some situations that happened that year. Kentucky beat us really bad at home that year. And beat us by 18 at home, and it really was worse than that.
Yeah, right.
And when that happened to us that night, and we were playing pretty good, probably a little bit full of ourselves, and when that happened that night, Coach really got into our guys, and he used this adage. He kept saying to them, "You see those guys over at Kentucky? Those are real guys, like pro guys. Those are real guys. We got fake guys. We ain't real guys yet. We got to be real." And Coach did that throughout the year. And it actually became our team's kind of mantra, where they started saying that, hey, every time we won a game that was a tough game, a tough one against Texas Tech or whoever, Iowa State, whoever we beat, it would be like, are we real guys now? Real guys now. Real guys played tonight. And they used that the whole time. And I believe that helped us so much in the national championship game when we were down at halftime. Because when we went in at halftime, everyone thinks that Bill Self went in the locker room and rant and raved and yelled and screamed. None of that happened. None of it. He came in the locker room as calm as can be, and our guys were in there talking to each other. And they weren't yelling and screaming at each other like, hey guys, we can get back, don't worry about it. This is what we got to do, talking like that. When coach came in, he was as calm and can be with the guys, and he said to them, hey guys, we can play better than this, can't we? We ain't going out like this, are we? And you could see to a man, David McCormick kept smiling. And the guys are like looking at him like, what are you doing? And he's like, hey man, we're coming back. This is what we do. We're not scared of this. Let's do this. And the guys went out there and did it.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a fun game to be in the building for, and especially for a KU fan and my friends and I. We were in the North Carolina section, and it was we left our seats, started walking around the building after the first half. We're like, things got to change, and boy, did they! Second half was a blast.
And we didn't think about it, coming back on that run on them, we never made a three.
Yeah, wow.
Never made a three.
That's amazing. Norm, how many Big 12 teams do you see having real guys this season? Like, how many teams in this league are capable of being a Final Four caliber basketball team?
I think you have at least four. I think you have at least four in the league, and it could be different teams. I mean, Arizona and Iowa State obviously have a chance to do that. Houston has a chance to do it. Texas Tech is right there, even though they've got a lot of new pieces and that stuff. So it remains to be seen, because Texas Tech is kind of caught in a similar situation to Tennessee. Now they score better and they can shoot it a lot better than Tennessee, but they're going to, play through their point guard Christian, and they're going to play through big boy inside. So if some teams may be able to shut some of that down. So I do think they have a chance. Kansas, if Darren Peterson gets totally back and in rhythm and that type of stuff, they've got a chance. The NCAA is based on your matchups. You get good matchups in the NCAA, you can move forward. And so these teams are all capable.
What about BYU?
BYU is probably one of the most dangerous.
Really? Okay.
Because they are so talented. Okay, and if they get Davis playing well for them, obviously they got him back after the situation. He gives them athleticism. He gives them a guy that can switch and guard, but also make a shot. Debanza the other night put on a show that was big time. You know where he wants to go. He wants to play off that elbow. He's going to long stride, but you can't stop it. He's just so athletic. And the point guard obviously making the shots right, making the shots that he made, and that's the one thing that's different. They got to get Saunders going more. They got to find a way to get more shots for Saunders, because he's so talented and he can spread that defense out. And but the key to them defensively is big boy Keba Keita. That guy is a freak. Like, as athletic, he is as athletic as Flory Badunga. He's like that. They are both very, very athletic, and he is a powerful player around the rim.
Always fun to catch up with Norm Roberts, the former Kansas assistant, former head coach at St. John's. The one thing I'm very curious for in terms of like roster building and management, obviously you look at some of the teams that Bill Self put together, and how those guys as freshmen would grow, and when you think about like 04, 05, young players that became national champions in 08. It's so different now. How do you see coaches managing rosters with the turnover that they have, as opposed to in years past when you had to have more experienced teams that came together over 2 to 3 years or 3 to 4 years?
I think that the key is keep the ones that you got to keep. Find a way to keep those guys and not lose them, either through the transfer portal or obviously graduation. You can't stop that, but try to keep the ones that you got to keep, and then add the right pieces that lead to winning. And sometimes the right pieces that lead to winning are not the guys ranked number 4, 5, 6 in the portal, or guys that are ranked high in high school. It's the pieces that fit you. And coach has always been good at, at Kansas, he was always good at getting the guys that fit him, fit our personality, fit our team, fit our culture. And it's hard to say culture. Everybody talks about culture.
Right.
That's great, but culture is built over time. It's built over time, and it's hard to do that now because there is no time. You've got to be ready to go right away, and in 4 months, you've got to be able to play at a high level. The other thing is too, I think it's really important for your roster is the back end of your roster. Instruct that right to have guys that can come in and play valuable minutes, 15, 18 minutes a game that can help you win. Those guys are big keys to winning big time.
Great stuff. Norm Roberts, always fun to catch up, and love the work he's doing in media, whether it's with Field of 68 or anywhere else. Anytime he talks, it's great to listen. The great Norm Roberts. Norm, thanks for your time. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Same to you.
Thanks, Norm.
Take care. Norm Roberts, the longtime KU assistant, head coach at St. John's, joining us here on Big 12 Radio, breaking out his thoughts overall in the Big 12. Really great insight there.
Yeah, and I think, my main takeaway was the depth of this conference when he leads with how many teams that were at the bottom last year are so much better this season. He's talking about the athleticism and the length at UCF, what Colorado's done in the non-conference, what Oklahoma State has done in the non-conference, and then just the uptick with all the freshmen and all the star power, but also defensively. Like, there are some really good defensive teams in this league, and that's being skewed by the tempo that they're playing with, how much better these teams are offensively, that it's getting overlooked. Kansas on the defensive end won them a couple of games. What Houston does night in and night out, a top 3 scoring defense for 6 years in a row. What BYU's even done on the defensive end of the floor, winning some low-scoring games. Like, this league is stacked top to bottom.
All right, that's James Westling. I am Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Radio. Grant McCasland will join us coming up in about 20 minutes from now, but let's take a deeper dive into this weekend of hoops because it's a good one. The final stretch of non-conference play is here, and we've got a great weekend of hoops we'll get into next. Along with James, I'm Ari. It's Big 12 Radio presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.